What up, my BJJ and Folkstyle wrestling homies? It's been a while, but the MMA gods have gifted us with a matchup that, while not enough to wake Helio Gracie from his grave, is enough to get me out of my coma. That's right folks, this weekend, Ben Askren and Demian Maia will be facing off in an epic matchup. It's the other BMF belt on the line, people. That's right, the baddest Mad Hugger Fucker title is up for grabs. And I am tingling with anticipation for the outcome. Like an MMA fan waiting for the identity to be revealed of this mysterious Irish sports star, currently trending on Twitter. In an age full of multi-dimensional fighters, the pure grappler is a rarity, and even more rare is the one-dimensional grappler versus the one-dimensional wrestler matchup. It's so interesting that even both the participants are curious.
Everything is very difficult to really know what's going to happen. So it's very weird situation, very interesting to see what's going to happen.
Going to this training camp, it's way different than any training camp I've been in a long time, because it's like, well, I actually have to think about how this situation is going to go here, because what could he possibly try here? So it's like an intellectual challenge.
Now, it appears like I'm throwing shade at these two elite fighters, but cut me some slack, okay? I've made over 20 breakdown videos of these two fighters combined, and if I kiss any more ass, I'm going to have no more lips left. Anyways, let's begin. The way I see it, Maia's path to victory seems to be clear. Unlike those other wrestlers that could strike, and were content to just kickbox and avoid going to the ground, Askren will be actively looking to close the distance to take Maia down. So ironically, Maia should try to do what Woodley, Usman and Colby did to him. In other words, use his functional striking to just pot-shot Askren, and pressure him into taking bad shots. Maia can then capitalize in the ensuing scramble, take the back and get that choke finish. This may seem like an odd suggestion for a grappler, but don't forget, a white belt, against an untrained person, can look like a black belt. Now, I'm just exaggerating on the difference between Maia's and Askren's striking to make a point. But Askren's striking isn't likely to have seen a big upgrade since his last fight, and he will often stalk his opponent with no guard or head movement, barely throwing strikes, looking to grab a hold of you. Arms outstretched, looking for the clinch, or to duck under strikes for a takedown. His approach should be fairly predictable, and surely Maia has the striking chops to capitalize on this, should he choose to do so. That being said, the main problem with this conservative approach is that this is a 5-round fight. And I wonder if Maia has the discipline and cardio to keep up with this game plan. Askren has fought many 5-rounders, where he has had to walk down his opponent, and has shown that he will not stop coming forward, no matter how badly he is hurt. Then there is the other problem of Maia not being a refined enough striker to really damage Askren when he steps into the pocket. Askren's MO is pretty much always the same. Not one for feinting, he often throws an overhand, and looks to duck under, for a shot or clinch. This predictable entry means he can get caught with uppercuts and knees, and a few well-placed shots, even if they don't land with knockout power, can blunt his aggression, and make him second-guess his main entry. Unfortunately for Maia, uppercuts are not really his weapon of choice, and timing them with precision is a tall order. His main combo is a jab cross, and while this should frustrate Askren, it could also end up leaving him vulnerable to a reactive takedown, if he is not disciplined with his footwork and circling. In Maia's last fight against Anthony Rocco Martin, probably gassed from 2 rounds of hard grappling, and already ahead on the scorecards, Maia faded in the 3rd round, and was backpedaling as his opponent walked him down. He eventually got caught, and finished the round eating strikes from his guard. I'm not sure what lessons Maia took from that fight. He might have seen that backpedaling is a bad idea, and decided that he needs to be the one constantly pressuring for this fight, and walking Askren down. In a sense, he's not wrong. Maia does best when he's the one walking his opponent down with his jab feint, and controlling the center. Indeed, in his fights against Usman and Colby, he looked his best when he was pressuring them into the fence. Unfortunately, while Maia looked good early in the Usman and Colby fights, in that he was pressuring them backwards and was able to get shots off, ultimately he was unable to actually get any takedowns. He ended up badly gassed, and losing the decision. Don't get me wrong, Maia is a good wrestler, but aggressively walking down Askren, trying to take him down, rather than letting Askren come to him, and trying to force Askren into bad shots, seems like folly. Which brings us to the wrestling bit. I've already covered in this study how Askren has been thinking since ages ago, about how the cage can be used as a defense to takedowns. So I find it highly unlikely that Maia will be able to finish a single leg on Askren against the cage, much like how he was unable to against Woodley. Okay. Now is a good time to throw some shade. It seems like a miracle that someone with as unjacked a body as Askren could dominate as much as he did during his college wrestling career. Truth is, while Askren can wrestle fundamentally, his mastery of scrambling often allows him to get the better of his stronger opponents. Scrambling or funking is a complex subject. I won't get into details here, but in a nutshell, Askren can often get reversals on someone, even when they have gotten deep in on his hips or legs. There are a few key moves involved in order for Askren to do this, and besides the funk roll I have previously covered, there are a few other techniques Askren excels at. For example, there's the double ankle. Here, you can see the opponent has gotten to his hips, and is looking to complete the takedown. Askren instead goes over, and grabs both the opponent's ankles. Now, he rolls through as his opponent dumps him, and quickly looks for a technical stand-up. Because his opponent's leg is controlled, his own ability to find the tripod is compromised, allowing Askren to scramble up first, to get the reversal. There is a saying, that higher hips wins the scramble, and to have higher hips, you need to get up faster than your opponent. Double ankle grabbing interferes with your opponent's ability to stand up, while buying you time to kick free to find your tripod. Askren's ability to roll out of takedowns, to find his base before you do is unparalleled. Heck, sometimes when you think you have the higher hips, and will win the exchange, Askren will pull out a Peterson roll out of nowhere, and reverse you instead. Unfortunately, because he is rarely shot on in MMA, opportunities are limited for Askren to display his outstanding funking abilities. All that being said, does Askren really need all that scramble-shamble thingamajig to deal with Maia's wrestling? Usman and Colby could neutralize all of Maia's shots with sprawls and whizzers. No real need to get fancy by going over the top and yielding even a little ground to Maia. Askren himself has said he's not going to do anything crazy to take Maia down.
I'm not going to go out there and do dumb stuff to take Demian down, like, just real risky stuff. I'm not going to do that, but I will go for the takedowns.
As such, I'm not expecting anything funky to be going on in the wrestling exchanges. Askren is better off just stuffing Maia's shots and going around to secure some kind of ride, to start laying some ground and pound. Which finally brings me to the grappling portion of this fight. I've gone into a lot of detail on Maia's BJJ, so there's no need to reinvent the wheel. As far as it appears to me, Askren's guard and ability to sweep off his back is no match for Maia's passing and top control. Hence my earlier comment about not even risking getting into scrambles and being put on his back. As I have studied before, Maia is a master at trap and sweep guarding, and is familiar with how to time alternating between the two guard metas. Frankly, I'm not sure if Askren should even attempt to pass or strike at Maia's guard, unless Maia is gassed. Maia's guard is a great danger to Askren. And while Askren also likes to stand up in your guard to strike, because he doesn't shift into passing phase quickly, like how Nurmi might do for example, to counter a trap guard or switching to a sweep, he could possibly be reversed and put on his back if he is not careful. For example, here you can see, Maia is trapping the limbs of his opponent, frustrating strikes. When the opponent gives up striking and attempts to stand, Maia gets under the space created under his opponent's base, in order to get a sweep and come up on top. Askren has gotten swept standing up in the guard, and while he is probably more savvy now, I'm not sure if it is worth engaging in this micro battle with Maia in his guard. Askren is probably better off going for ground and pound against Maia's turtle. Since we are here, I might as well also address this video of Askren rolling with Marcelo Garcia and getting constantly tapped as evidence of his vulnerability to submissions. This is a comment made even by people who grapple, and I find it perplexing. One has to remember, this was a very inexperienced Askren, and one that was trying to still use wrestling scrambles to deal with jiu-jitsu. Now, remember what I said earlier, that in wrestling scrambles, you want higher hips first, and thus, quickly establishing the tripod is the priority. That is exactly what is happening in this roll with Marcelo Garcia. Askren naively prioritizes establishing a base to stand up from, placing his hands on the ground, leaving openings for submissions. These small openings are all Marcelo needs to get the choke. Rather than devoting his arms to protecting space around his neck, he is putting his elbow quickly on the mat to recover his base to get back up, and thus gets caught in all kinds of trouble with crucifixes. I'm sure Askren is far more savvy than this now, and if anything, watching past Maia fights should have taught him that he should not give up hand fighting, especially when Maia is on his back. This only allows Maia to eventually worm his way into a choke. In an ironic twist of fate, Askren should be studying Jorge Masvidal's fight with Maia, and Masvidal's use of double teaming on Maia's free arm, to frustrate Maia's signature RNC entry using a shoulder clamp. Speaking of looking for the tripod quickly, this brings me to a tendency of Maia's, that could be a major liability against Askren. As you should know by now, Maia likes to pull guard, after he makes a connection with you on a shot. This allows him to get a sweep, when you try to aggressively advance, from what you think is a failed takedown. This has worked many times in the past, but good wrestlers like Usman and Colby were content to just throw strikes from a front headlock position, once they stuffed Maia's takedown. Maia's willingness to wait here, hoping to get some kind of guard position, rather than aggressively looking for a tripod to get back to his feet, could result in him taking a lot of needless strikes from Askren. Askren is especially fond of getting a front headlock, and he could either just be content to throw strikes from there, like Usman and Colby, or he could drag Maia into a turtle, and look to lock on some kind of ride. Continuing to wrestle through a stuffed takedown, to generate a scramble, seems like a bad idea, against a master scrambler like Askren, with his vast array of mat returns. However, don't forget, Maia is a good scrambler himself, and in the chaos, opportunities to take the back could open up. In conclusion, this is Askren's fight to lose, though a more defensively minded Maia could really make it a long night for Askren on the feet. Either way, this looks destined to see lots of ground action, bearing Maia firing off a tiger uppercut in the opening seconds. I have studied both these fighters, and it's a shame that one has to lose, but whichever way it goes, as grappling fans, we are all the better for it. Alrighty folks. My time has run out. Let me know in the comments how you think this goes. Till next time all.
Do you agree that it's a bit like the old school UFC, like when you would have a boxer versus jiu-jitsu, that it is like a wrestler versus a master of BJJ?
Yeah, looks like, but it's not, because I'm sure Ben trains a lot of jiu-jitsu and stand-up, of course, and I've been training a lot of wrestling, the last 9, 10